really what I think is one of the greatest honors we have, and that is our Academy Service nominations. I recall when I came to the Congress 6 years ago, we got our pick of the litter, the best of the best, brightest of the brightest. And every one of us has seen the number of people apply for Academy noms go down, and we've seen an impact on quality based on how people are currently perceiving our military. The woke ideology that Secretary Austin has advanced has harmed our military, and I take particular note of a report titled Fighting the Culture War Within the U.S. Navy, conducted by Senator Cotton, Congressman Banks, Congressman Crenshaw, and Congressman Gallagher. And that report serves as a roadmap as to how to try to restore trust and confidence. There was one lieutenant currently on active duty who lamented, quote, "Sometimes I think we care more about whether we have enough diversity officers than if we'll survive a fight with the Chinese Navy." She continued, quote, "It's criminal to think that they think my only value is as a black woman, but if you cut our ship open with a missile, we'll all bleed the same color." And this culture war that we see with radical race ideology and radical gender ideology is intermingled, and it permeates all aspects of the Department of Defense and has even bled into the VA. In July of 2021, VA Secretary McDonough announced that his department would provide gender reassignment surgeries, and he described that as the path of progress. Now, Secretary Austin assures us that the DoD hasn't gone woke, but on August 30th, the Army's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and Accessibility Office hosted a gender inclusion workshop. The workshop, quote, "The workshop will cover discussion training on gender identity, transgender, and non-binary 101. I shudder to think what non-binary 102 would be. The use of pronouns and other best practices in gender inclusivity," close quote. This radical gender policy also was reflected at the beginning of January in 2021 when the military's health insurance provider, TRICARE, began including hormone replacement therapy as one of its covered services. So it raises the question, why is this resolution necessary? And it's because we don't get straight answers when we ask them directly of the Secretary of Defense and top military leadership. I remember asking the Secretary about critical race theory, and he barked at me that there is no critical race theory in the military. And then Mr. Waltz brought the receipts and actually went through the curriculum with critical race theory text that is being offered throughout the pedagogy of the United States military. And then I think, too, when the Secretary said directly, there's no wokeness, there's no woke generals, there's no woke military, and he took all offense and got blustered. And then I get this picture from a service member at the Davis Air Force Base in Arizona, and at the very entrance to the wing where all of the airmen go in, a guide about how to be woke. And so when you get just like the blatant evidence that contradicts the statements that these people make, it necessitates this type of inquiry. I want to respond to the chairman's argument that, well, the real problem, the real reason that we see wokeness high on the list for people as a deterrent to recruitment and military service, well, like, I'm sorry, if we don't talk about it, it still happens. Like the notion that if we just don't talk about wokeness and we don't criticize radical gender ideology, that everything will be okay and we'll meet our recruiting goals, with all due respect, that is a very boomer mentality. This stuff gets shared on social media. This gets shared in messaging applications. The notion that our service members don't talk to one another, don't share their concerns, and don't reflect on them is a bit naive. And so I don't think that it is effective leadership for us to put our head in the sand and say, well, whenever we see things like the guide to how to be woke, whenever we see the curriculum that Mr. Waltz put before the committee, whenever we see the report that Mr. Gallagher, Mr. Banks, Mr. Crenshaw, and Senator Cotton put together showing how this is impacting people, we should not ignore those things. We should investigate them, and we should root them out. And I have every confidence under Chairman Rogers' leadership and during the upcoming Republican majority, we will do just that. We will dig into this wokeness, we will get it out of our military, and we will restore the confidence in the greatest fighting force the world has ever known. I yield back.
Thank you. I accept the generational insult there, but I will say that even us old folk, Matt, know that things do get generated and spread around. My point is that if you generate stuff that is dishonest for political purposes, it gets spread around and causes damage. I have no doubt that it's being spread around. I do understand how.
I would just
fancy-
suggest it was Secretary
It is
Austin
my
who was
time,
doing
Mr.
stuff
Gates. You
for-
do not have time at the moment. You do
Your
not have
time?
time. It's not your time. So anyway, Ms. Jacobs.